how do you focus? What are the key elements to focusing? Access to finance, we'll tackle that. Expertise, that's come up. Culture, attitudes and cycle time. So let's start with a quick comment on how each of these panelists would look at the new way of doing business. We talked about the old way. This is how you got production. Only one company so far, we've just heard from Recon, are doing it as an exploration company. And we're going to need a lot more of the Recons in this world. We probably need another 10 or 20 Recons to have the success based upon the fact that historically, the exploration success of wells globally from 3,000 deals is about 10% commercial. That's average. So you've got to drill at least 10 wells to have one decent chance of success. So that means all the companies we've heard so far have one asset producing with very little exploration. So we've got a big discord with where they've come from, having the production support, and now going to explore for more oil that I think is going to need a very long time. Now, if we come to Recon Africa, they don't have production. So my question to Grayson is simple. You know, if I was an exploration company with 50 million in the bank, you can spend that easily. We've seen enough listed companies that have spent that money and disappeared. And one of my answers to the first question today would be, where have they gone? Well, they spent it and left because they didn't have production. My question to Grayson is slightly loaded. Are you thinking of trying to get into some production? And would, coming back to Canada, the small Canadian company that perhaps has some cash flow with increased prices? I did a simple calculation. If you had a $25 net back on a barrel for 200 barrels a day for 365 days a year, you generate before tax $1.8 million. That's a lot of money to pay for the overheads of a company. So would a company that's got 50 million in the bank consider putting production in the base, by perhaps merging with that cash flow in Canada, who doesn't have the international exposure that you have? Is that a question you were happy to answer?
Thanks, Mike. Absolutely. You know, our problem is we have too much land and too much opportunity. So, you know, we need to systematically de-risk it, which is what we're doing now and what we've been doing for the past year and a bit. Going after something else now would be a distraction for us. We're running 24/7, 365 days a year Scott Evans, our CEO, likes to call it, we want to have basin mastery of the Kavango Basin. And you'll never ever achieve it. It's a sort of theoretical thing, but we want to be able to farm down multiple parts, or as I said, we believe we have 5 subbasins. If we can farm down 3 or 4 of those subbasins and keep one for ourselves wholly, that's kind of the plan or strategy now. You know, we're funded for the next 12 months, but as we've done in the last year, we need to allocate our capital appropriately, get the returns, get the value in the market that's required to make sure that we can fund it ourselves if we have to, or bring in partners who will, you know, give us past costs plus a carry and other potential things. But for us, you know, going after something else now, we legitimately don't have the bandwidth. We have everybody within the organization focused on de-risking what we have and executing a strategy whereby we can find commercial hydrocarbons and then get them to production. One of the slides in the presentation was, getting it to market, and we're already analyzing what are truck sizes, what are rail car sizes, how many tanks we're going to need at Walvis Bay for tankage, what we need to do for an export jetty, all those types of things. So we think we have the most exciting exploration project, so going into something else right now just doesn't fit.
That makes sense, but I still come back to the point I'm going to ask Tony. You know, for a new startup company, exploration is great, but if it doesn't work, you've got nothing left. So how important do you think it is? And I'm not trying to disagree with Grayson. I wrote an article about 6 years ago called Back to the Future. Was saying, look at the successful companies that have got the cash flow to enable them to maintain the effort to quantum leap through series of projects. So I'd still come back to Recon and say, perhaps they should consider a small producing asset that will their activities. And I understand that with that, it comes to expertise, because clearly you will have specific knowledge in your countries, whether it's legal, whether it's technical, whether it's politics and how to manage the community, or indeed pick out a completely new basin and go to a place with fantastic fiscal regimes. So let's come back with the minutes we've got left here to talk about Canada again and the expertise in the room. I mean, I see a lot of friends here, and many of them either consulting or about or want to be retired. There's very few young people around with the experience. There's a massive gap. I talk about the 84 to 2003 crash, but there's a huge amount of experience here for those companies that go and need it if they go and find it. Now, how long that will be available, I have no idea. But I think Canada has the attitude to achieve it. So, I mean, Grayson, you're a Canadian-based company. You've got a lot of talented people on your management sheet. You've used that expertise. What do you say to a new company about how they access national knowledge from within Canada?
So at the end of the last panel, the moderator asked, three important things. And I was thinking to myself, based on our experience in the last few years, it's just people, and people. Our technical team, our board, our directors are all incredible with phenomenal track records of delivering no matter what they've done in their career. We've recently opened an office here in Calgary because we understand as a company there is a dearth of expertise here that's being underutilized or has been underutilized. Not a lot of people, I guess some younger people apparently don't want to go international or don't even want to do this industry, whether you're an engineer or geologist, they want to do other things. But there is still an incredible amount of technical capital in this town, and that's why we've recently opened an office here, and we're continuously expanding. The other thing that we realized in country is how important local people are. So we've got the sort of high-end management technical people. We've got technical people in the right places, being Calgary. Scott and Nick Steinsberger are in Dallas. But for us, the revolutionary thing for the execution of our business this year has been the growth of Recon Energy Namibia. We're up to 23 or 24 people. We've just hired 2 people this week. We've hired 3 people in Botswana this week. Without the local people, you can't have the real impact and change that you really need to get your social license and maintain your social license as you want to build a project. So for us, Calgary is super important because, if you look at the services, Polaris, we use Absolute imaging for our seismic processing in addition to Down Under, which is Australian-based. We've been a global company kind of from the start, even before COVID hit and the pandemic hit. But Calgary is a very important place for us because we realize the skill set is here, the knowledge is here, the services are here, and we need to be bigger here. So that's what we're doing.
And the circles. And finally, a word from you, Grayson. What about this timing issue? It took you a while to get started. Now you're started. You're really focused on this. How long do you think it's going to really take you before you'll be able to say, well, it worked, it didn't work? Let's be honest.
Time is a critical business issue to consider every single day. When we're going into a joint venture process, how much time is left on our exploration acreage? With extension periods, et cetera, we think we could get out, currently to 2024 with an additional extension period to 2026, 27, and then there's potential for a third extension period. So we've got lots of duration on our land. From a markets perspective, because I'm a markets guy, we're an exploration company. And when exploration companies the market generally doesn't care about them. So, rush and go as quickly as possible to shoot 450 kilometers of seismic, get it processed, now interpreting it so that we can get back drilling as soon as the calendar turns over into 2022. Because once we start drilling, we're not going to stop drilling. We have to get to commercialization. So what does commercialization time mean? Having started working with different parties on the commercialization strategy, we think that, we always know internationally you're going to get your timing wrong. But we think in a 12 to 18 month window, you could go from discovery to production and sales. In Namibia, onshore, this is a great thing. Onshore hasn't been done like this in a long time. So cycle times are low, costs are low. as long as you have the support of the government and the people, and we do. We may not have the support of the media, but our industry generally doesn't have the support of the media anywhere these days. So
not yet.
so we have the support of local governments, national governments, and the people, and we have a social license to operate. And if we can do that, then we have a better chance of reaching our time goals and achieving them than if we don't do it.
Well,